Okay, my name is Ryan Zuzelski, and I will be presenting the results of my survey pertaining to the UW crosswalk experience. My design question throughout my project has been, how can we improve pedestrian safety in the UW crosswalk systems? My survey research questions that I really wanted to address in my survey were, how do traffic control technologies and roadway designs contribute to pedestrian perception of safety? What situations lend themselves to unsafe pedestrian behaviors in the roadway, such as jaywalking? And when should pedestrians and vehicles interact in the roadway? As for the logistics of my survey, I had 20 participants in total. They were all members of my fraternity at UW. They'll live in North Campus housing, and so they generally have the same route to get from house to school. They received an email from me with the survey attached, and I cut off the survey after 20 responses. I thought it was a nice round number. The survey itself was a Google form that included 11 questions of varying types. The first result that I got out of this survey involved traffic control technologies. Specifically, traffic lights and pedestrian signals were earning the highest safety ratings from my participants. These are also the most frequently implemented traffic control technologies in the UW area. They're all along the major road that all my participants have to cross to get to campus, and also all along the Ave and other major streets. So I thought the frequency might be a confounding factor. And I also found that trust in signals varies. So as you can see from the graph, traffic lights and pedestrian signals are obviously the most frequently reported. But marked crosswalks and all-way stop signs were also pretty popular. I had an open-ended question that asked to explain the response to this question, and most of the responses most of the participants that responded marked crosswalk only or always stop signs said that they liked visual confirmation over signal confirmation, and that it gave them a sense of safety to be able to control the situation and go when they felt it was appropriate. Even people that reported traffic lights and pedestrian signals as being the safest were using visual confirmation as a priority over the actual signal itself. So that led to my recommendation that traffic control technologies should be consistent. Traffic lights and pedestrian signals are the most frequent in crosswalk systems, and so I thought that might have led to the prevalence of that as an answer. The consistency of technologies can help manage expectations so that both drivers and pedestrians know exactly what to do in the situation. When you start mixing traffic lights and stop signs and marked crosswalks, it can be easy to miss little signs, especially for drivers. And signals, like I said, are secondary to visual confirmation. People like to control the situation with their own eyes. Okay. My second result is that repeat routes are very common. All my participants live, My second result is that repeat routes are very common. All my participants live less than half a mile from campus, but they cross about 10 roads a day. The graph I've prepared is not, doesn't reflect the frequency of the responses to that question of how many road crossings you have, but I chose to make it out of 100% so that you could see the general trend of as you add roads crossed in a day, it doesn't actually increase the diversity of roads crossed. It actually just becomes the same route over and over again, which makes me think there might be a more efficient solution for pedestrians to get from housing to campus. So my recommendation for this is that roadway design could be improved. The amount that vehicles and pedestrians interact in the UW Greek system is too much. That area is highly populated, and I don't even know if it's considered on-campus housing, but it's close enough where they should be able to get to campus without having to cross a major road. And so I think that a roadway design that provides mutual exclusivity of pedestrians and vehicles on 45th, which divides campus and the UW Greek system north of campus, could really improve pedestrian safety. And also during rush hour, it's a really congested road and could also improve flow of traffic. As a third result, I found out some of the motivations that lead to jaywalking and some of the reasons that people feel it is safe to cross when the signal says don't. So the most frequently reported response is that long signal change and no cars in the immediate area means that it is safe to jaywalk. And the second most reported response was that crosswalks were too far apart, or just the placement was inopportune, which is also understandable. But it's consistently reported that when no vehicles are in the immediate area, it's time to jaywalk. So that means that traffic control technologies are just not really smart enough, because pedestrians are made to wait when there's actually no cars, and so they're just being disadvantaged when really it is safe to cross. And so that's why I recommend that we make traffic lights and signals smarter. Jaywalkers consistently report that they do so only when they can see that it is safe. So there are times where the traffic signals are restricting pedestrian movement, but it is actually safe to cross. So this falls in line with my finding in my last, in my field study and interviews, that honesty in these systems is kind of lacking. And so I think the jaywalking could really be reduced by adjusting the vehicle detection range and the algorithms to, more benefit pedestrians. So I think my next steps for this study is to expand research to include more members of the UW Greek system and students in West Campus housing. My participant base was not super diverse, and although I got some really conclusive results, I could really expand on some of the concepts that I found by including a broader base of people. I would like to define the most common routes for people, specifically in the UW Greek system, because that's the information I'm working with already. But I really believe in this idea of mutual exclusivity, and I think if it's appropriately implemented and placed, it could really benefit both pedestrian and vehicle traffic. And I'd also like to further explore traffic control technology preferences. The responses to my open-ended question yielded the fact that people trust signals at different levels, and so most of the time people like to visually see what's going on, and then some people just like signals to tell them what to do. And so I'd like to find out what exactly plays into this decision and preference. Reflecting on my survey, I think room for improvement involves my participant selection. My participant base was not very diverse, as I mentioned earlier. And also a big one is that my traffic control technology question, it was flawed in the fact that I fat-fingered the button that said, which type of question is this? It was supposed to be a ranking question, and I made it a single multiple choice, which kind of sucked, because I really wanted to see how they stacked up against each other. But so it goes. Some surprises that I found were that always stops were a lot less popular than the interviews suggested. It was pretty unanimous in my interviews, but also as a result of this flawed question, it was one of the least reported responses, but no one got a chance to rank it against other ones, so I think that might also be confounding. some fun things about this were that my findings were super consistent and conclusive, and it let me like move forward confidently with the problem and develop some deeper questions in a specific direction, which was cool. And things just tended to work out pretty well. Some of these things were concepts that I had expected from my own experience as a pedestrian, and that helped a little bit, but I gotta hand it to my participants. They did a great job, and I feel like they were both honest and forthcoming with all their problems. So that's it.